Here we go. The top 10 teams in the preseason as I see them right now. We're going to start with number 10. And by the way, you should note that I grouped these in fives, okay? So the top five kind of clearly separated from the next five. And then within those two groups, I'm going to talk about the trustworthiness of the rankings. Cincinnati is going to come in at number 10. Listen, I love what Luke Fickell has been able to do at Cincinnati. This is a team that has won a lot of football games over the last couple of years. And when you look at their quarterback, this is what I'm most excited about. Luke Fickell has himself a bona fide veteran star at the quarterback position. And for me, Desmond Ridder puts them on par with some of these power conference teams. So they're going to start at number 10. That might be some of the new blood we see in the playoff. At number 9, I'm going to go out to the West Coast. Oregon is going to be my number 9 team in the country. Mario Cristobal has recruited at an exceptionally high level. That's really one of the things that I look at for me is they're not Cincinnati in an A5, and yet they've got this great chance to potentially win a third straight Pac-12 title. The only question for me is at quarterback. We're going to have the quarterback conversation with them and competition with them, and we'll see them in week 2 when they go see Ohio State. By the way, Kayvon Thibodeau, dude is absolutely unreal. I love him on the edge. Notre Dame is at number 8 for me, and I know this is a little bit higher than most people might have Notre Dame, but the bottom line for me with Notre Dame is this. Brian Kelly has built a program that I trust. They're great on the offensive line. Regardless of how many guys that they lose, they've just continued to build and build and build. And Kyron Williams, their running back, I really trust him a lot. I think that they'll be fine at quarterback with Jack Cohn. Can't wait to see what he – remember, this guy led the Big Ten in efficiency before Graham Mertz kind of came in after the injury. So I think Notre Dame is in there in the top 10. Like I said, I'm a little higher on Notre Dame than most. At number 7, I'm going to go with Iowa State. Guys, experience, experience, experience. Maybe not at the high end of the playoff conversation, but what Matt Campbell has done at Ohio State is he's built this culture that supersedes their recruiting rankings. It's quite amazing. They've got their quarterback, Brock Purdy, back. They've got the Big 12's Offensive Player of the Year in Breece Hall. He returns. Mike Rose, the Defensive Player of the Year. He returns. I really love what Matt Campbell and Ohio State and Iowa State have. This is a year that I think they could win the Big 12. I think this is a year that they could go to the playoff. And you're talking about that new blood. That's potentially some of the new blood. At number 6, Texas A&M. I'm really high on Texas A&M. We'll see what they get out of their new quarterback, but they're going to be great on defense. They can run the absolute heck out of the football. Jimbo Fisher has recruited at a very high level. This could be a big year for Texas A&M and possibly a chance to unseat Alabama at the top of that West Division in the SEC. Now let's get into the top 5, all right? Ohio State at number 5, and I'm going to unveil them all here right away. So I've got Ohio State at 5. I've got Clemson at 4. I'm going to have Georgia at 3. I'm going to have Oklahoma at 2. And I'm going to have Alabama at 1. And the reason I just wanted to put them all out is because their position on this board is determined by what I trust most, okay? I trust coaching and I trust quarterbacks most. Who's the most trustworthy coach right now in the game? It's this guy. It's Alabama's Nick Saban. He's the greatest college football coach in the history of our sport. So regardless of who they lose, they go to the number 1 spot. They're the defending national champion. I understand they lost everybody. Heisman Trophy, Doak Walker, O'Brien, Outland Trophy, Biletnikoff, like all of them. They lose all those guys. Yeah, I understand it's still Alabama. Nobody recruits better than Alabama, and they get the number 1 spot because of that. And then you're going to notice a theme right here. Trustworthy quarterbacks in order from 2 to 5. Trustworthy quarterbacks in order. I trust Spencer Rattler a great deal. And OU's got some things on the defensive side, in particular their defensive line, that make me think that this could be their year, right? This is the most, I would call it balanced, complete. This is the most complete OU team since probably, guys, 2008. That's the Gerald McCoy, Sam Bradford team that lost to Tebow in the national championship game. So they've got balance and a great quarterback. Then you go down to JT Daniels. You're going to have a great defense for Georgia and Kirby Smart and a quarterback that I really trust. Remember, this was the number 2 scoring offense in the SEC after JT Daniels was inserted into that lineup. So you've got JT Daniels, then you've got a guy that played meaningful football, DJ Uiagalelei. So he was out there. He was facing Notre Dame on the road. I know what I'm getting in some degree, even though they've got to replace Travis Etienne, that you know they're going to have a very good defense. I think they're going to take a step up defensively from what they were a year ago when they stepped back just a little bit. A lot of inexperience on the defensive side last year. They'll be very good this year, Clemson. And then Ohio State, a guy we haven't seen. C.J. Stroud is going to get the nod at the quarterback position. So that's why they're here. You know, I've had some people say, like, well, why aren't you higher on Clemson? You know, they've been so good. Well, because I trust Spencer Rattler and JT Daniels more so than I do DJ Uiagalelei. Ohio State sitting there saying, hey, our roster is better. We just hammered Clemson. I get it. I get it. And yet, at the most important position on the field, you're a complete unknown. These five, I believe, has separated themselves out from the next five. You can argue that Texas A&M clearly is the top of that next group and maybe can get into that conversation in the playoff. But right now, you have to put Alabama at number one. I don't care what they lost. They have Nick Saban. Then you've got quarterback trustworthiness after that. Folks, that's my top 10. And let's just quickly note the new blood in the playoff. This is who I think is going to go to the playoff. Okay, so do I think there's going to be new blood? No. But what are your most likely spots to get somebody in there? Texas A&M, Iowa State. Those are the two teams that I think have a legitimate chance. Because Texas A&M could even lose one, maybe even two games. If they're the SEC champion, can get out of the West, they're going to be in the playoff. Iowa State, they're going to probably have to play Oklahoma twice. They would only have to beat them in one of those games. One of them would be a neutral. They were close last year. Remember, they split last year. They beat them in the regular season, and then they lost in the Big 12 championship game. So those are your two new bloods that I think could potentially have a chance to go to the playoff. So there you have it. There's my top 10 teams going into this college football season. Cannot wait. Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoy that clip, make sure you click subscribe somewhere down here. From game highlights to exclusive interviews and rankings, we've got everything you need as a college football fan right here, College Football on Fox.